Alright, so this is part 2 to what if female deku was kokushibo. Now in this part, it won't be continuing off from where he left off. It will a little bit, but then I'll be covering what kokushibo did in those 17 years from her being separated from Yoriichi. So give me a minute to get her breathing styles up, and then we will begin. Okay, now I just want to point out that one of you pointed out that I spelled catastrophe wrong, and let me explain. My brain just doesn't want to work most of the time, so that's why I sort of like misspelled. That's sort of why I that's why I didn't really say catastrophe right. So since I got that cleared up, we can continue from where we were. So, we open back up with Kokushibo standing after Shigaraki and Kurogiri escaped and Anomu was killed. And now All Might busts down the door, and once he looks down, he notices the same woman from 17 years ago standing there as he prepares to go in to attack her. As All Might is about to land his punch, she manages to jump back to the rocky mountain area of the USG, with her then leaping backwards repeatedly as other pros arrived. The UA staff, I meant. They all see her at midnight, and President Mike notice her, and once she sees them, she just leaves like she just teleported. Now we'll cut back to about 17 years ago. This is after she went to the clearing and saw that the heroes were gone, and so was Yoriichi. As she spent the past 17 years looking for Yoriichi, she encountered a young boy that with white hair and a few burn marks on him, surrounded by blue flames, as she would end up saving this boy that we know as Toya Todoroki. And once she lays him down on the ground, she takes him to a river to sort of like nurse his burns, like put some cold water. You know how like put some cold water on it, just to deal with the burns before they get too severe. With Toya waking up a few hours later, with Kokushibo watching over him, and once he sees her, he immediately begins to freak out because he remembered that his dad had told him about a mysterious woman. Now, I'm just going to say at this time, this is around the time Toya was a baby. So Kokushibo, not Kokushibo, Yoriichi and Todoroki are the same age. As Toya would try to blast his fire at her, but she tells him not to try it. You just injure yourself even more. As he notices that he's covered in bandages, and he is confused by this as he asks her, why is he covered in bandages and where is he? As she states that, you're covered in bandages because I was helping you with your injuries, and where we are is that we're far away from that man you call a father. As Toya, remembering that everything that Endeavor had did to him and his siblings, Toya stated that he has to go back and save his sister, and his two brothers. As Kokushibo would state that you can try, but it would just make. Well, once you go back, I cannot help you. And she also states that you'd need to be trained in order to save them. Now, this time, the Todoroki family think that Toya is dead. So, Endeavor still goes through the crazy thing of trying to make Shoto stronger by training him, which I'm pretty sure is literally on the lines of abuse. Actually, no, is basically abuse. As we'll fast forward a couple more years. This time, Mount Lady has become a pro hero. And Kokushibo, it does have a disguise where she uses her flesh manipulation to hide her extra eyes and make her eyes normal as she goes under the fake name Izumi Midoriya. With her meeting up with Mount Lady, and they both immediately hit it off. Now, this time, Toya has become Dabi at a much earlier. So, actually, no, he becomes Dabi at around the same time. So, Todoroki is around 15, and he started his vigilante thing with Kokushibo. Because around this time, he sees Kokushibo as both a mother and a teacher. So, he would refer to Kokushibo as mother or mom at this point. So Dabi won't join up with the League of Villains in this one, as at this point, Mount Lady and before the USJ incident, Mount Lady and Izumi Midoriya, Kokushibo, known as Izumi Midoriya, have been dating for a while now. About a couple months. And a couple years before she met Mount Lady, she had found where Yoriichi was. She had found that he was under the care of Aizawa and President Mike. As she would try to get to him, but she sees that he is well looked after, so she decides to just step off and let him be raised by those two, since she can't really do anything at this point. As she would go back to her house and into her room, where there would be two swords on the wall, one for her and one that was meant for Yoriichi, which was the final gift that their parents had, which was the gift Yoriichi was supposed to get once he was old enough. But since Kokushibo couldn't get any access to Yoriichi, and even if she tried, she'd probably be killed in the process, she kept the sword with her until the time came. So we'll then continue forward to where, after Kokushibo left the USJ, with Yoriichi noticing the sort of similarities between them with the hair, since Yoriichi's hair is about the same length, and and the mark on her face being similar to his. So Todoroki would think that maybe this kid is maybe Todoroki going around the whole secret love child thing would probably think that she is probably his mother. So he would tell Yoriichi this as Yoriichi would state that she seems way too young to be my mother. As Minato would make a pervertive comment, which would make everybody look at him weirdly, as they then head back to UA with them getting their 2 weeks off. With Yoriichi spending his 2 weeks not only training, but also trying to figure out who that woman was. And he would ask Aizawa and Present Mike if they knew her, because they both looked like, because during the USJ attack, they both looked like that they recognized her. As they'd then tell him the story about what happened 17 years ago, with them saying that we'd seen her escaping what appeared to be what was a burning estate, and we assumed that she was the one who caused it, so we chased after her, and once All Might had sent her flying, we assumed that she was dead, and that we had found you and All Might had caught you when she was trying to escape with you. So we believe that she was a kidnapper of some kind, and we don't know what her current location is. So Yoriichi would take this information and sort of like look up the estate burning from 17 years ago, and he would notice that there are two people who are unaccounted for, that being the not known bodies counted for, and that would be Kokushibo and Yoriichi. As Yoriichi would look for more information, so he'd go out and try to find her. And eventually he would find her during one of her vigilante acts, as her and Dabi were dealing with a villain with her using Breath of the Moon first form, I believe. First form, Dark Moon Evening Palace. So with the villain being split in half and Dabi burning the remains, and Yoriichi would see this as he would try to. He does have a sword of his own, but it's not at the same quality as the sword that was supposed to be given to him. It was made out of a much weaker metal. As Kokushibo would see him with Yoriichi going to charge in to try to stop her and Dabi, with Kokushibo telling Dabi to stay back, and that she will deal with this problem. As Yoriichi does use sun breathing, and he would use sun breathing's 13th form, I believe it was, the one they used on Muzan. I don't know the actual name of it, so if you can't know the name of it, please do tell me. So he uses that form on her, but she manages to deflect it by using, I believe it was, she blocks it by using moon breathing second form, Pearl Flowers Moon Gazing, which would manage to deflect some of them, manage to deflect some of them. With her being hit by one of the slashes, which does burn her a bit, but the wound begins to close up due to it not being made out of the same metal as her sword. As Kokushibo would, this would go on for a while, with Yorichi using his sun-breathing forms and Kokushibo using her moon-breathing forms, as she would end up splitting Yorichi's sword in half and then knocking him to the ground, with her looking at Yorichi with not a look of pride that she had just beaten him, but with a look of what appeared to Yorichi as sorrow and sadness. She would end up sheathing her sword and leaving Yorichi the sword Yorichi was supposed to be given, as both her and Dabi would both walk off, as Yorichi would end up picking up the sword and see a note on it. That was what was written on this. This note was a message saying that this sword was supposed to be given to you much earlier, but since I couldn't get into contact, since I couldn't give it to you, I might as well give it to you now. Yorichi with the message on it stating that it is from both of Yorichi's biological parents. As Yorichi would then end up walking home and just passing out in his bed due to him exhausting himself from using sun breathing so much. And that is where I'm going to end it off. I do hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys next time.